Hey, what's going on? Welcome, Sheepdog, to the Intuitive Sheepdog Podcast. Yes, that's right. This is the first episode of the new name of this podcast. So it does not mean that I will not be addressing you as Sheepdog Nation, because I think that I will always address my sheepdogs as that. But I have decided to change the name of this podcast, and I believe that you deserve an explanation why. And so I'm going to provide that to you in a few minutes. The name of this episode is If You Don't Believe in Yourself, Then Nobody Else Will. And I think that's super fitting. I think it's a fucking hot topic we need to talk about. I got a lot to say about that. And I wanted to, before I do all of that though, I wanted to shout out our podcast sponsors. So recently I have allowed a company, a law enforcement officer owned company, to sponsor and partner with me, sponsor this podcast and partner with me. And I want to tell you a little bit about it before you're like, you know, it isn't an apparel brand. And before you're like, oh, another one. I have to tell you that I actually really, really like this brand, which is why I agreed to allow them to sponsor us, because they actually make their clothing, and so incognito. So it's called The Badge Life. So as you're listening to me, go on to Instagram, go to The Badge Life, at The Badge Life, and go check it out. And he's a 15-year veteran, and he also has he's got his main Instagram page, but then he also has another page for the apparel line. And here's what I really love about this line, you guys, is that some of the line is thin blue line. Like, he's got a few shirts and hats that are like, thin blue line, but he also has clothing for all sheepdogs, which is awesome. So he's got some like even military green. He's got firefighter red. He's got hats that support all of the lines, like the thin gold line and everything in between. And it really struck a chord with me, as I'm focusing on sheepdogs, all sheepdogs, not just us cops. But the reason why I love it so much, again, is because they offer an incognito option. So like, there's a hat that I'm going to be ordering, and it's black, and it's a badge, but like, it doesn't scream cop. So for an officer standy for an officer safety standpoint, it's pretty badass and it's pretty on point, which is why I really, really like it. So anyways, go check them out. They have decided to sponsor the podcast. Again, it's The Badge Life. You can go to thebadgelife.com and you can check out the whole line that I was talking about of clothing. But don't buy my size, and don't buy too many hats, because I want one. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just kidding. And by the way, the company has given only us, free shipping. So just use the term sheepdog and you get free shipping on all of your orders, which is pretty cool. So shout out Badge Life. So yes, what's going on with the rebrand, with the name, like what's up with that? So straight up, it's been a long time coming. And it's been scary as fuck for me to change the podcast to this. It has been something that I've been nervous to do. What had happened is, when I started this podcast, I had no idea that there was a Facebook group called Sheepdog Nation and that there was an app called the Sheepdog Nation. I had no idea. Up until honestly like a few months ago, probably like 4 or 5 months ago. And I'm like, shit, like I don't want to step on their toes. And there's never been a problem. They've got the app trademarked, but they didn't have anything trademarked for a podcast. So legally I wasn't stepping on their toes. But then I was just like, but I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, it's been really bothering me for quite some time, just because, it's another brother or sister in blue. And yeah, I just didn't feel right about it, but I didn't know what to do. So I didn't do anything for a while. And then as I've developed, my own brand, my own company, what I've been doing, how I've been mentoring police officers in what I now call the Intuitive Sheepdog Program, I've now changed my Instagram to Intuitive Sheepdog. And what that is and what that stands for is it's really, about teaching sheepdogs how to survive at home as well as on duty. And it's really about enlightening, like Leo wives and our spouses to what it is that sheepdogs are going through. Because I think, we have a big problem. Obviously, we have, very unhappy, sheepdogs. We have we have a really high suicide rate. And while I'm not claiming to sit here and like cure suicide or anything like that, what I am trying to do is to help officers survive, and not just cops, but help all sheepdogs survive off duty. I think we focus so much on, being tactically sound on duty, but what about like when we're off duty and we don't know how to be human and we don't know how to unwind and we don't know how to relate to our, spouses and our friends and our children and our family? Like, what do we do? A lot of us numb our minds and we, numb our emotions and we run away from our problems and we just work all the time because we don't know how else to handle life. And so for me, it's really about staying connected to who you are. And so, the show is going to transition. It's going to be much more of a lifestyle show. So you're going to hear me talk about all sorts of subjects. Now, if there's something very specific you want me to talk about, as always, you can email me, autumn@autumnclifford.com, or you can slide into my DMs, Intuitive Sheepdog at Instagram. So on Instagram, you can just kind of give me a suggestion like, hey, if, I would really like to listen to A, B, and C. It doesn't mean I will always positively do it. If it doesn't feel aligned, if it doesn't feel really good for me, then I'm not going to do it. If I feel like I can't talk about that subject, I'm not going to. However, I'm definitely always open for, to hear what you're looking to listen to. You can expect from me more spiritual shit for sure. I definitely am all about teaching you and all my listeners how to trust your intuition, how to rely on your sixth sense, how to sharpen your sixth sense, how to work like with what you would say like God, or I'm going to refer to as the universe, just to stay more neutral, because some of you do believe in God, some of you don't. I have no judgment, I have no opinion, but I just refer to all of it as the universe. And I just want to teach you how to make your life a lot easier. And so at this point, you're like, well, who the hell are you to do that? And let me tell you, so if you are brand new to me, my backstory really quickly, and if you are not new to me, just brace yourself for a minute. I'll make it short and sweet. So I've been a police officer since I've been 20 years old. When I was 27, I got diagnosed with a really bad back injury. And it caused me to have to get off the job. I'm not able to work patrol anymore full time. Hell, even when I put just like my detective get up on, because now that I work part-time at an agency, like just for a few hours, I'll throw like my gun and my badge and a set of handcuffs on just a regular belt, and to do some community police work, and it kills my back after 2 hours. So my back's pretty weak. It's pretty fragile. I'm still working on strengthening it. And anyway, so it took me out of this job. Well, I now have my master's in criminal justice, and it was halfway completed at this time. So I have literally spent my entire life to become a police officer at 27. Essentially, it was literally like within a week, everything came crashing down for me. And I became very depressed. I went through a lot. For any officer, any, first responder who has ever been injured in the line of duty, who has ever faced, having to take time off for anything, then how truly devastating shit like this is. That all these people you thought were your family, they're not your family. They're not even your friends. And you truly see how thin the thin blue line becomes. It really does. Unless you've got fantastic leadership and Also maybe because I was I am a female, maybe, the relationships weren't as tight as maybe some of you males experience. I don't know. I just know it was very devastating for me. And I went through a pretty, a pretty thick, I would say, depression. On the outside, I looked very happy. I developed and created my own online business. I replaced my full-time income for over 2 years in a row from my couch. I didn't have a choice. I needed to do something. And I was successful. That is when I developed my online intuitive business. I just wasn't focusing on sheepdogs. I was actually helping female entrepreneurs. And while I loved the content, I didn't love who I was working with, and it took me a while to figure it out. I really wanted to help you guys. But anyways, so I went through this really deep depression. I gained 20 pounds. I, did not want to get out of bed. I felt like, what the fuck happened? Why am I here? I was not suicidal. Don't get it twisted. But I just kept asking myself these questions, like, what the hell am I doing? What is my purpose? There's got to be more than this. Like, do I go back and try to work, in some sort of other capacity in law enforcement? Like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And for, a good solid year, I looked for those answers externally, and it made me more miserable. And then I figured out that I needed to start looking internally. So then I started reading books upon books upon books. I hired mentors. I began meditating. I began journaling. I began really connecting with myself. And that is when I started to flourish. That is when I started making the most money I've ever made in business. I started becoming happy again. I started really connecting again with my husband, with my family. And I started to clear the path in my mind for like where I was going and what I was doing. And a massive shift happened for me, emotionally and mentally. And that is what I'm looking to do for you. And that's what I'm looking to do with this podcast. We're going to talk about all stuff like that, but understand it is very intuition led. Cops are some of the most intuitive people on the planet, whether you know it or not, because all you have on the street is your gut and your training, and that's it. And if you don't realize that, then I don't even know what your problem is, but realize it, because that's what you have. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And it's scary. It's vulnerable. Nobody's doing it. It's a lot of people are going to judge me. And if you feel like this podcast isn't for you anymore, that's fine. It's fine. I'm sorry to see you go, but honestly, if we don't connect anymore, we don't jive, that's okay. If we do, if you're like, yes, like I've had a lot of people come to me and be like, thank God, like, this is amazing. This is what I've been looking for. You're a fresh breath of fresh air. Like, I've had a lot of cops come and say that to me. So if that's kind of how you're feeling, please feel free to share this out. This podcast is definitely going to be beneficial for all first responders and their spouses and families. As we're going to be talking a lot about a lot of different lifestyle, a lot of different topics within our lives. Up until now, it's really been about cops and patrol. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's like amazing content. I'm not going to do anything with the content. Like, it's really, really good stuff. But this is just where I want to go. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I've been going on for almost 15 minutes about it. Clearly, I'm a little bit passionate about it. You heard? Okay, so let's dive into today's topic on what I want to talk about. I really want to talk about believing in yourself. And this is kind of like, it's kind of a mushy, like, I don't know how to explain it to you. It's like a messy topic, okay? Because it is hard to do the things that nobody else is doing. I look around and I feel like all I see are replicas of people everywhere. That's what I feel like I see. I have a very hard time looking and finding authenticity in people, because people don't know how to really truly be themselves. They really don't. Take a look around, and why don't you have reflection time and look in the mirror and see if I'm wrong? Because I don't think that I am. if I'm just honest. I have been looking, within myself. This is, a part of why I made my shift. Even though it's scary and it's hard, it's not really hard because I can talk about this shit all the time, but like, obviously I'm about to get judged. Obviously, fucking, there's a ton of people that I want to listen to me talk about fucking how you should trust your gut and like you have angels around you and, you should journal. And if you're not meditating, then you're fucked. And you know what I mean? People don't want to hear that. I mean, they just don't. And that's hard, but that's my truth. My truth is, that's how I've changed my life. And it's a really good way for you to change yours. And, I'm changing. I have a solid group of sheepdogs right now that I'm personally mentoring, and their lives are changing in just months. I mean, I think I've had them for a month and a half now, and their lives, I mean, you should see what they're saying about being in this group and, consuming the content. You should see what they're saying about my course. They're like, I have never taken a training like this. This is unbelievable. This is so in depth. Like, I am transforming, I am shifting, I'm doing all these things. Like, it's very powerful work. Not a lot of people want to do the work. And so the people that, join me and go all in, they're really the 1% within the 1%. So I've really had to believe in myself. The truth is with my dreams that I've had, when I got hurt, I had to start thinking differently. And I had to shift. And luckily, I had started to shift about 6 months prior to me getting hurt. I started an MLM. I was a Beachbody coach, and I shifted my thinking bigger than, just a police salary and just being a police officer for my career. And that saved me. And I have to be real with you and tell you, I was the only one who saw that dream and believed in that dream. I was the only one. Nobody else in my life saw that dream and believed in it as much as I did. And that's truly my lesson for you tonight or today, whenever you're listening to it. If you have a dream, if you have things that you believe in, or you have this like crazy aspiration and you're embarrassed by it, or you don't really fully believe that you can achieve it, if you don't believe that you can do it, then nobody else is going to believe it, for you. They're just not, and they're not going to make it happen for you. You have got to believe in that dream. And it doesn't matter how crazy it is. It doesn't matter how outlandish it is. It does not matter. If you can believe it, you can achieve it. And I truly in my heart believe that. In fact, I love hanging out with people who think big. That's what I love. Hell, one of my best friends online, I met him online, and he's a cop and he's fucking going to pilot school. And, and he'll tell you like everybody shit on him until he fucking, now he's got he's got like step 1 of his pilot license complete. Like I think he can fly like small aircraft. And now people are actually like, oh, you're doing something. But until then, he got a bunch of shit from everybody, but he believed in himself. He don't need anybody else to believe in himself. He just need to believe in himself, and look at him. He's kicking ass. And, it's so true. And, it's hard. It's hard when you go and you look online nowadays. It's really hard. And I think this is like really what I wanted to kind of get into too, is don't go look online for, confirmation or that you're going to be able to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. Or don't go looking for like, let's say I'm just going to give you some random ass like example. Okay. So like, let's say you have this dream of being like a fitness coach. Okay. Cause that's pretty common. And, there's a lot of cops that I know that like are in shape and like they want to help other people get in shape. So if you do what everybody else is doing, okay, if you're constantly posting the fucking, the gym pics and you working out and you're fucking what you're eating like that, it's just boring. If you're just being boring and you are literally showing me what you look like in uniform, or then you're showing me what you look like at the gym, and, it's just, all that basic bitch shit that I see every time I scroll on Instagram, I don't know. It just seems to me like you're being a replica, and it seems like to me you're being inauthentic. Now, you take that dream, okay, of being a fitness coach, and you put some personality, your own spin on that. And I believe that you will be very successful. And you know what? What very successful means doesn't mean you have 100,000 followers. Like, don't get it twisted. And this is another thing that I need to say is that, like, this is where, social media is fucking people's heads up. Yeah. Again, that, oh, well, if you don't have 10,000 followers and you aren't, you're not blah, blah. Well, I've got to say, I'm rocking 4,900 followers, and I'm going to tell you something. I have been in business for 4 years, and my income is not a problem. And it's honestly not too much different than a police officer's salary, depending on which state. In Maine, like down in southern Maine, it's a pretty good salary, and that's my income. And I don't have 100,000, 10,000 followers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm doing just fine. You can be so successful held with 1,000, followers. You don't need all these followers. You don't need all the likes. Like, don't do the things that you're doing for all of that outside, confirmation or, stuff like that, recognition. You need to be doing the things that you want to do because you believe in them. Does that make sense? Like, in the world of, sheepdogs and anywhere really, there's a lot of, people who are going to criticize you. There's a lot of people who aren't going to believe in you. But what you need to understand about that is it has nothing to do with you. And it has everything to do with their shit. They have everything to do with themselves. It's just themselves and their shit and their, insecurities. And they're just taking it out on you because you're threatening them, because you are actually doing your own thing and you're believing in yourself and you're following your heart's desire. Yay for you. We wish more people would do that. That's what these massively successful people in the world are doing. They're literally just following their heart's desire. They're aligning with the universe, the universal powers or God or whatever you want to call it. And they're allowing the universe to move through them. And I'm not saying it doesn't take work. Of course it takes work, but it doesn't take as much work when you're working with the universe instead of like against it. Okay. And take a look at the best people who have ever lived in their craft. They just trust their gut. They go with the flow. They literally go with the universe. They believe in themselves. They believe in themselves before anybody else could believe in them. They just saw this vision. They saw this goal, and it didn't matter that nobody else saw it, and I just want to share that with you tonight because I just see a lot of people, like I said, not really living out their dreams. They're staying safe by being replicas of somebody else who's being, found some success. And, I'm not seeing a lot of authenticity online in the online space, especially within when I search the hashtags like them blue line, police officer, It's just all I see is a bunch of bullshit. All I see is the same stuff. And I mean, I'm not shitting on any of you. Like, don't think I'm not shitting on you, but I'm just pointing something out. Like, don't try to fit in. Stand out. Be different. Trust your gut. Follow your heart. Believe in yourself. It doesn't matter if nobody else believes in you yet. They will. One day, they'll believe in you because you believed in you. And do the things that you really want to do because you want to do them. You know what I'm saying? Follow your heart. Be happy. You are meant to be happy. You are on this earth to be happy. You're not here to be miserable. You're not here to work your fucking life away, eat, sleep, shit, and die. You know what I'm saying? That's not why you're here. You're here to have an amazing experience, to learn lessons, to have fun, and, to be happy. That's what you're here for. So do that and have fun with it. I hope you got something out of this. I hope it makes sense to you. It's pretty powerful if you really go back and you listen to what I'm trying to tell you. I hope it makes sense. I hope I was able to articulate it pretty good. It's a topic that you're going to hear me talk about a lot. Like I get pretty fired up about it. So, yeah, if you guys have questions at all, come on to Instagram. Do me a favor. If you're new to this and you're on iTunes, throw me a rating. That would be awesome. And if you haven't checked out the Badge Life yet, go do that on Instagram. I'm going to be going shopping here pretty quick. So, like I said, don't be buying everything out. You know what I'm saying? And I will see you next time.